Food, we do all the recipe developing and organizing for you so that you don't have to spend hours at the supermarket or in your kitchen. Roasted cod with potatoes and olives is a great start to the week. Cod is a favorite too because it's easy to prepare and the flaky, mild-flavored fish appeals to just about everyone. I have 2 pounds of red new potatoes. You could use Yukon Gold potatoes or even white new potatoes. So that's our 2 pounds of potatoes onto the baking sheet. And I love this kind of dinner because everything happens on one sheet pan. This is all we're going to have to clean up when we're done. So some olive oil, and a tablespoon of olive oil. And then just for some more flavor, put some garlic on there as well. So 4 cloves of garlic. And I'm just going to halve these cloves of garlic rather than mince them because the potatoes are going in the oven for quite a while. If I minced the garlic, it would definitely burn. So just have them lengthwise. They'll be sweet and delicious when they're roasted so you can eat them. All right, we'll get this onto the baking sheet with our potatoes. And then half a teaspoon, I'd say, of dried rosemary. Sort of crush it up in my fingers. And it really helps to bring out all the flavor. You'll even smell the second you start rubbing those dried herbs between your fingers that the aroma will really intensify. So we have potatoes, garlic, rosemary. Definitely need salt. Potatoes always need salt. So a lot of salt and some coarse ground pepper. And then give those a good toss. And use your hands. They're your best tool. Try to get as many of them covered, on all their surfaces. Okay. And then try and arrange them cut side down. That's just going to help you get that really beautiful golden crispy edge because it'll be in contact with the baking pan. Okay. Those are ready. Wipe up my hands and they go in the oven to roast. These potatoes have been roasting at 450 degrees for about 20 minutes. I also gave them a toss while I was roasting them. So we're almost there. We have to add our finishing touches to the potatoes. So we have some cherry tomatoes, which are wonderful. A pint of cherry tomatoes. I'm going to toss right on. You could use grape tomatoes, whatever you can find in your market. And what's great about this recipe is that cherry tomatoes and pear tomatoes or grape tomatoes are always good. They're sweet all year long, so feel free to use them even in the middle of winter. And then half a cup of Kalamata olives. And those get a toss. Look how pretty that is. Just want to make sure that everything gets a little bit of oil, some salt and pepper. And actually the brine from the Kalamata olives is going to add some really nice flavor to all the potatoes and tomatoes. Okay, so shake those down and then make some room for the fish. So we have 4 pieces of cod and very simple, just some olive oil right on top. And then always good amount of salt and pepper. And coarse pepper will be really beautiful on top. It really makes the fish just pop. It's so gorgeous. Okay, so onto our baking sheet. The last piece fits in perfectly. So this all goes back in the oven for another 20 minutes, and then dinner will be ready. This moist white fish is the perfect partner for our Mediterranean mix of tomatoes, potatoes, and olives. And it's as beautiful to look at as it is to eat. That's just everyday food.
For the second meal of the week, buttermilk baked chicken with spinach salad. It will help to tenderize and add flavor to our chicken breasts. And it will add plenty of tang to our delicious salad dressing. At Everyday Food, we find that soaking chicken in buttermilk keeps the chicken meat really moist and juicy. Our marinade contains 2 cups of buttermilk, which is good because it's really healthy for you. 2 cups, a little bit of honey, 3 tablespoons, okay, that's 3 tablespoons of honey. Now I need garlic, 6 cloves. I'm just going to take this whole head and just press down on it to release those cloves. I like to smash and peel my garlic to get the skins off, especially when I'm mincing instead of slicing, because it doesn't really matter what the end result looks like, and it makes it nice and easy to remove those skins. Especially when your garlic is fresh and juicy. Also, for this dish, you do want a pretty fine chopper, and this looks pretty close to what I want. So those 6 cloves can go right into the marinade, and it needs to be seasoned as well. 2 teaspoons of salt. And a half a teaspoon of black pepper. It's good for your marinades to be really nice and well seasoned because you want all that flavor to penetrate into your chicken as it's sitting. So don't worry if you think that's too much salt. Just like the garlic, you're not going to get all that salt in the final dish. Just pour that over. And then wrap it in plastic and put it in the refrigerator for at least 2 hours and up to overnight. The next thing for this chicken dish is a breadcrumb mixture that I'm making with fresh breadcrumbs. These are 3 slices of white bread. So this is a fresh breadcrumb, which is a nice, light, airy breadcrumb. And I find that really nice for coating baked things and even fried things. And it has a really nice seasoning, herb de Provence, which is a little unusual. We're going to use 3/4 of a teaspoon. And herbs de Provence has rosemary and thyme and savory, marjoram and basil. It sometimes even has lavender in it. To that, 2 teaspoons of olive oil and some salt and pepper. Just pulse this until you get breadcrumbs of the size that you want. I'd like mine pretty fine. These breadcrumbs look great. So now I'm going to coat my chicken. I have a baking sheet that is lined with aluminum foil, which will make it really easy for cleanup. And these are the chicken breasts that have marinated. So they are bone-in, skinless breasts. So just lay your chicken on the baking sheet and allow all of the excess buttermilk to drip off. I have about 1.5 cups of breadcrumb mixture here because you need to pat this on so that it adheres nicely. And you want to coat it pretty well because the breadcrumb mixture has so much flavor. It's going to sort of seal in the juices and stand in for that skin that's been removed. These are going to bake in a 425-degree oven until they're nice and golden brown and crispy on the outside and cooked all the way through. That should take about 30 to 40 minutes. But first I'm going to wash my hands. So my spinach salad starts with 5 ounces of triple washed baby spinach. I always like to add something a little bit sweet and crunchy to my salads, especially with these soft spinach leaves. So I have 1 red apple. I like to just cut down around the core to remove the core. It's just a little bit easier. And then just really, really, really thinly slice it. And then take your apple slices and put them over your spinach and nestle them down into the leaves a little bit. We also like to add 1 cup of seedless red grapes, just another sweet little flavor. And these will all be halved lengthwise. And just add those to your salad as well. I'm using buttermilk for the dressing as well, as I used it in the marinade. I need 1/4 cup of the buttermilk, 1 tablespoon of cider vinegar, chicken is tender and crispy. What a satisfying meal to serve your family during the work week. 1 bite, and we guarantee it'll become everyday food in your repertoire.
Time to make tenderloin with roasted apples and onions. The sweetness and acidity of the fruit balances beautifully with the richness of the meat. On the side, we make use of our buttermilk again with buttermilk mashed potatoes. For this recipe, we like to use Empire apples. They're crisp and they're sweet. Remove the core and cut 3 apples into thick wedges. Slice 1 large red onion, not too thin. You want the slices to be a 1/2 inch thick. Drizzle 1 tablespoon of olive oil and season with salt and pepper. Give it a toss and then arrange it in 1 even layer so that each piece browns nicely. These will go into a 450-degree oven for 15 minutes. The glaze for the tenderloin is really easy. We're going to start with 1/4 cup of balsamic vinegar. And sweeten it some more with 2 tablespoons of maple syrup. This will take about 4 minutes to reduce. What you want to end up with is about 1/4 cup. When the glaze is done, set some aside. You'll use that to drizzle on the finished tenderloin. The rest will be used for cooking the tenderloin. I have 2 12-ounce tenderloins which have been trimmed of the excess fat. Season generously with salt and pepper. Brush the glaze generously over the 2 tenderloins. Don't use all of it. You'll want to glaze tenderloins again after it has roasted for 10 minutes. The apples and onions are starting to brown, so I'm going to give them a quick toss and then put the tenderloins on the top shelf, same temperature, and the whole thing will finish up cooking in 20 minutes. I've boiled 1½ pounds of red new potatoes in a large pot of salted water. Drain them and put them back into the pot. Add 3/4 cup of low-fat buttermilk, 2 tablespoons of reduced fat sour cream, and 2 tablespoons of butter. A good amount of salt and freshly ground black pepper. You might think that buttermilk is high in fat, but it's actually low-fat milk with cultures added to it. That's what gives it its tangy taste. Don't forget to let your meat rest. It needs 10 minutes before you start slicing. The buttermilk mashed potatoes are dangerously addictive. The meat is tender and flavorful, and you'll love the fact that all the grocery shopping took place earlier in the week. Leave it to everyday food to make cooking and eating something to really look forward to at the end of a busy work day.
Our shrimp and tomatoes are served over soft polenta. A cousin to American grits, polenta is made from a coarser grind of cornmeal, and it's a great alternative to pasta or potatoes. Served with a side of crisp green beans, and you've got a colorful and delicious dinner.
I have here 1.5 pounds of peeled and deveined shrimp. It was previously frozen and thawed and patted dry. I'm going to put it in a nice hot pan with a tablespoon of olive oil and toss it right in. season it, salt and pepper. You want to cook them till they're pink and opaque. In the meantime, I'm going to mince some garlic. So I have 2 cloves of garlic. Peel them and chop them fine. Sometimes it's easy just to give it a whack like that. Okay. Garlic looks good. And shrimp needs just another minute here. While this shrimp finishes cooking, I'm going to finish trimming 1 pound of green beans. I've taken off the stem side and now I'm going to cut the other side. The shrimp is ready. Smells really good. You want to be careful not to overcook shrimp because it gets rubbery in texture. Okay, let's put the shrimp over here to the side and add another tablespoon of olive oil to the pan. To that, we add the garlic that we just minced. So while that's going, get a 1/4 teaspoon of dried red pepper flakes and toast those a little bit. Let this cook just a little bit while I open a 14.5 ounce can of diced tomatoes, packed in their juice, which is going to complete our sauce. That will help to deglaze the pan too. All the stuff that has accumulated on the bottom, all the shrimp, all that flavor. I'll let the tomatoes cook for a little bit while I get started on the polenta. I have 8 cups of water boiling. I'm doubling this recipe because I'm going to use half later in the week and half now. So with the 8 cups of water, I want to salt, a good amount of salt to flavor it, and pepper. And then I need 1.5 cups of polenta. I'm going to whisk with each addition because you want to keep it from getting lumps. So put in a little at a time. Try to prevent those lumps from forming. Okay, one more. Make sure to get around the edges too. To total 1.5 cups. It's starting to thicken up already. It's going to end up with almost like a porridge kind of texture. For tonight's purpose, it's going to be soft, but for later in the week, we'll use it as a firm polenta. Looks like just about all the lumps are out of there. So while this thickens up, we'll get going on the green beans. My blanching water is at a full boil. It's add a lot of salt to it. You want your blanching water very salty to flavor your vegetables. And put the green beans right in. All right, we'll let everything cook and then we'll plate it all up together. It's time to add the shrimp back and bring it back up to heat so it's all nice and hot and all the flavors meld together. The tomatoes have caramelized, all the juices have come out of the shrimp, and it smells fantastic. And now I'll add a tablespoon of butter and some salt and pepper. The polenta is starting to get nice and thick. The lumps are out, so now it's time to add the butter. 6 tablespoons of butter. Keep whisking and make sure all the butter melts. Before I serve my polenta, I'm going to save half of it into a greased loaf pan, and that way I can use it later in the week. First, I put in some polenta. It's nice and soft and creamy, and it makes a perfect bed to put this shrimp on top of. And then the color pops right out on top of that polenta. There's something so soothing about soft, warm polenta, and it's the perfect foil for this slightly spicy shrimp. And don't forget to make some extra for another meal later in the week.
At the end of a long work week, the last thing you want to do is spend a lot of time cooking. We're transforming the extra batch of soft polenta into broiled polenta with mushroom ragu. It's quick and satisfying for a Friday night in, but you could also prepare it for an impromptu dinner party. Now let's start by making the mushroom ragu. Finely chop half a large red onion and cook that in a large skillet with 2 tablespoons of olive oil. The onion will take about 5 minutes to soften, and then you'll need 20 ounces of mushrooms. Don't spend too much time on them. They only need to be halved. If they're really big, cut them into quarters. These are young portobello mushrooms, so you'll sometimes see them in the grocery stores as baby portobellos. Season generously with salt and pepper and cover. These will take about 20 minutes to soften and release all of their juices. Remember that polenta? We're going to cut that into 1/4-inch thick pieces. If you didn't have any leftover polenta or didn't want to make it from scratch, you could always buy it in the supermarket. It's sold in the shape of a little log in the dairy section. Arrange the polenta slices in a single layer on an oiled baking sheet. Now brush a little oil on top to get a beautiful crust. Place it under the broiler and cook until it's golden brown, about 10 to 20 minutes. These mushrooms look fantastic. Let's finish seasoning them. 1/2 teaspoon of dried rosemary, 2 tablespoons of tomato paste, and 2 cups of water. Simmer this until it's thick. It'll take 10 minutes. The polenta is so crisp and golden. The mushrooms smell so good. Now we're going to finish it with a teaspoon of balsamic vinegar. Stir that right in and pour it right over our broiled polenta. The finishing touch is crumbled goat cheese. It adds a little bit of creaminess. Leave it to everyday food to find smart ways to extend a week's worth of groceries into so many great meals.